Hello, friends and fans of EVGA, and welcome to EVGA episode 19. I got plenty of questions for you from the last episode, so thank you for those. It is worth noting I am fielding these questions on Monday. This video should go live on Wednesday, so if you asked anything on Tuesday or Wednesday, I probably didn't catch your question, but go ahead, throw that question onto the next Ask EVGA, and I'll try to address that for you as soon as possible. So let's start out here. We have a question from Jesse M. He asks, is there going to be a 2080 Ti is the 2080 Ti Kingpin going to have a separate model hydrocopper, or is it an add-on item for the hybrid version? We're not doing a standalone hydrocopper version this time around. We are offering it as a hydrocopper block that you can purchase if you already have a Kingpin card. So that will be an add-on, and we'll obviously have instructions specific to removing that hybrid cooler so that you can get that open block, or full coverage water block mounted to the card. So no standalone model this time around. Moving on to the next question here, Alan She asks, would you make a video about gaming HDR video workflow? Not really sure what you mean. I mean, I would love to kind of show you how we do that, but mostly the way that we do it is actually pretty easy, pretty straightforward. We have a system, a Jacob system. You've seen it if you've watched any of the Friday live streams. That at this time has a 2080 Ti Kingpin in it. Out of that, we run an HDMI to our Ninja. That Ninja can do 4K capture at 60 Hertz with HDR. We have it do it in DNX HR, and we do it at the highest quality settings. So if we do like a 10-minute video, that will actually push out to an SSD about 120 to 130 gigabytes of raw data. That raw data is then pushed up to YouTube, and then YouTube processes it, makes it much smaller, obviously, but we believe that the higher quality the source file, the better that you'll get when you actually upload that video. And the videos that we actually get, the gameplay videos and the quality, is some of the best that we've seen on YouTube, and so that's part of the reason that we do it that way. But as far as our actual HDR workflow, it's not too much. It really is just a matter of making sure the HDR is enabled in Windows, it's enabled in that game, and it automatically enables on our Ninja when it detects that signal. So there's not much that we really have to do. It's basically automatic, which is really nice. Okay, moving on to, looks like Elvwizzy. I actually remember this name. I think you've asked questions before. With an X299 dark board, I've set it to default, yet my boost clock remains at 3.8 instead of the specified 4.3. This happened after doing some OC feature in the BIOS, which caused some thermal issues, so I had to dial it down, reset. How do I get it to go back to stock boost? I tried every option in the BIOS, thanks. I'd have to look into this one a little bit more, but there are settings that by default may not be turned on for turbo boost. So make sure that your processor is set to fully turbo boost. If you haven't done so already, make sure that you're also running the latest BIOS. It sounds like you've reset the BIOS, but it's not a bad idea since your board does have multiple BIOS. Try on one of the other BIOS positions. I really doubt that there's anything damaged on your processor or your board, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. If that were the case, it probably wouldn't post at all. But it is possible that you may need to reflash. If you had a really bad OC issue, maybe you had a hard crash or something like that, especially if it affected the post sequence as opposed to post sequence, which would be anything in Windows. I have seen cases where you have to reflash the BIOS to the latest version, so I would recommend that. It sounds like yours is posting, it's just not clocking all the way. So check that turbo boost stuff. If you need a little more clarification on that, I would say tell us what processor you have and which BIOS version you're running, and then we can kind of look into that a little bit further, or you can always contact our customer service, which is 24/7 here in the US, and I'm sure they can get that fixed for you. All right, next question here is from MasterVexPCV123. He says, is there any chance, EVGA, that you may manufacture Intel GPUs when they come out? That's a very interesting question. I wish I knew the answer to that. I've only heard kind of hearsay and rumors about Intel GPUs, the same as you have, but there's a lot of information out in the wild now, just based off of the people that Intel has acquired and sort of the messaging that they have had So I think it's really interesting. There's not much that I know about it at this point. Obviously, we being a motherboard manufacturer, and specifically one that does Intel motherboards, we do talk to higher ups at Intel. We have had meetings with them about our motherboards and whatnot. I'm sure they've talked to us at some point about future products in the graphics space, because it does affect our business as well. But I'm not privy to any of that information at this point. Would we build any Intel GPUs, just as a hypothetical? I don't know. I mean, obviously, we've never done the AMD side of things. We have in the very far past had some AMD compatible motherboards. This was actually before AMD had any GPUs. This is when it was still AMD ATI and they were separate companies. And those AMD boards, I believe, had NVIDIA chipsets on them, and I believe that's part of the reason why we supported them. So is it possible? Maybe. I honestly don't know what kind of product Intel would bring to market, if it would be focused at the consumer gaming space. If they did, that would be really interesting, and maybe kind of jolt the entire industry into finding the next great thing in graphics, which I think is always good for the consumer. So it'd be interesting to see what the next kind of 12 to 18 months holds for the Intel side of things. But as far as what I know, there's not really much that I know. But I think for the time being, we'd probably only stick to NVIDIA-based GPUs. All right, moving on to the next one. This is from Francis Gathegi. I hope I'm saying that right. He asks, can EVGA B stock ship to UK? If you're referring to EVGA.com, and we do have a B stock store on EVGA.com, no. We can't. It's just too expensive. There are ways around that, though. Interestingly, eBay basically requires international shipping for everyone, and they actually have a way of making it so that people or sellers that only ship within the continental United States can actually still serve the entire world, because eBay has these kind of freight transit hubs that will take that stuff kind of worldwide. So in many cases, we may offer some of the same stuff that we offer on our EVGA.com store on our eBay store, and our eBay is EVGA_official. So definitely check that out. There is also an EU store, eu.evga.com. They do have a B stock. Last time I checked, it was significantly reduced compared to what we have in the US, and there's just because there's less stock and less product there. But you may find a product there that you like, and those should be able to ship to the UK. I believe the EU office has for some time now. So that should be a way around it. But definitely check out the eBay thing. I think you may be surprised that that works. The next one here, and it looks like this is from Bonji, a little small on my screen. He says, are there any updates planned / coming for Precision X Mobile, or maybe the BIOS? Would be really nice if the profiles were able to save the custom set fan curves and not reset after each reboot. Because the default fan curve keeps my SC17 a little too hot, especially when playing games, and setting that up each time is a pain. Thanks for your time. Sorry if this was already addressed before. Okay, as far as updates to Precision X Mobile, honestly, I really doubt it. We're not doing any real direct development for the laptops at this time. You know, we may revisit that in the future. If there are any kind of significant, really breaking bugs, those are the kind of things that we definitely want to look at. As far as custom fan curves, I believe that on the SC17 you could do some in the BIOS level stuff should save. The stuff in Precision X Mobile, I believe there is a save functionality, but I don't know at this point with Windows updates and whatnot the status of that. That is a good one to ask to our forums.evga. There's always other users out there, and many cases they've figured out ways of getting it to work the way that it's supposed to. So if there is any issue with the software as it is now, they can probably help you out with that, because I don't honestly, my memory, I don't remember if it allows you to save those fan profiles or not. There is obviously a fan boost mode, but that basically just runs the fans at full speed all the time. On the temperature side of things, laptops are very different than gaming desktops. So if you're used to gaming desktops and this is your first gaming laptop, I will say that higher temperatures are fairly normal. You know, if you see your CPU running at 97, 98 Celsius on a desktop, you would absolutely freak out. But on a laptop, that's actually pretty normal. It's very normal for just about any laptop to thermal throttle the CPU. And if they weren't thermal throttling the CPU, then they were probably downclocking the frequency so much that you're not getting your full performance. So in a sense, that's actually kind of a good thing. And as somebody who has had a laptop where the CPUs run at 100 Celsius for 6-7 years now, I can tell you that significant long-term damage to that is very unlikely. Laptop chips in general tend to run pretty hot. But if you are seeing significant kind of downclocking and performance degradation because of that, it may mean that the thermal paste and the thermal system is just not performing as well as it should. If it's still under warranty, we can definitely take a look at bringing that in, getting that repasted for you, or getting the cooler replaced. So definitely consider that as well. Again, as with the other customer, we have 24/7 customer support here in the US. If you're in another region, we do have customer support basically worldwide. So there are ways we can help you. All right, and this one, gosh, I don't even know how to say that name. So I'm just going to call you MM. Thank you for the question. He asks, my EVGA CLC AIO shows error, CPU WB device not found. How to fix it? This is actually the most common error that you're going to have with one of our CLCs. And it's very common. Basically what happens is it's going to throw an error when you're opening flow control if your pump is not getting enough power. So this is a very common thing for people to get wrong on their installation. It needs to be plugged into a fan header, obviously, to get power, but that fan header needs to be set to 100% voltage, 100% speed in your BIOS. You don't want it running PWM or anything. The CLC has full PWM control, but that's built into the CLC, and the CLC needs a full 12 volts and 1 amp so that it can run its fans, and it can run its circuit board, and it can run its pump correctly. So the vast majority of customers that get that is one of two things. Either they forgot to connect the USB on the pump, and there is a USB that has to be connected for communication purposes, or that fan header that gives power to the pump is not set to full speed. Set that to full speed. Make sure you've got the USB connected to a USB port or a USB header, and I guarantee that will fix that issue, because every time I've ever seen that issue, that'll fix that issue. All right. Last question here. This one's a little salty, but it is worth addressing. This is from Integer Overload. It's actually a highlighted comment. And I have to change it slightly to make it more family appropriate. Why is it that I can't get one Kingpin 2080 Ti when some jerk, we'll say, on eBay can get 2 of them and sell them for $1,000 markup? You know, it's a valid question. This seems to happen every time that we have a launch of a card that's hard to get a hold of just because stock is so limited. Kingpin is that way, but so were 2080 Ti's when they came out. Quite frankly, we have no control over what people do after they buy their products. It is a free market. I would really not want to live in a country where a business could control what you did with your product after you bought it in such a way, because that is infringing on people's liberties. The best thing that you can do, and anyone can do, if you don't like people doing that, they put on their eBay listing, they significantly mark up the price, as you say, and I'm sure they are, don't buy it. If it stays on there, they don't sell it, they keep having to relist it. It costs every time you relist it. Eventually, maybe they'll stop doing it, or they'll just sell it at a normal price like anybody else. And that's kind of how you tamp down on that type of behavior. I definitely feel it because as somebody, I personally worked on the Kingpin quite a bit. I made the article for the Kingpin on our website, as well as that 3D model. So certainly I want customers to get these cards. I want people who really want these cards to get them because they are so cool. And so the thought of somebody buying one then to just resell it on eBay, it is lame, but it's one of those things that there's not much we can do. We did limit it to two per household. And we are very strict on that. We don't allow more than that. 2 is the most you could ever use in an SLI configuration, so that's why we did it that way. So that makes sure that nobody goes out and buys 10 of them and then puts them on eBay, as an example. But I definitely do understand your concerns on that. I just wish there's more that could be done about that. But there will be more Kingpins coming. It is a limited run card, but it is not out. We will be getting more stock of that. So if you haven't already, please make sure you put yourself on that auto notify list. So as soon as we get stock, we put it up on the website. We'll notify you. You can get one, you can buy one, and then you don't have to think about that guy on eBay anymore. All right, so thank you guys for these questions. Again, very good questions as always. Put your questions for next week in the comment section below. I try to actually look at all the videos. I don't just look at these ones. I do look at ones on other videos just to kind of keep a temperature of one of them. I believe one of the questions that that I didn't answer on here is why not just answer it. Somebody asked why not just answer them directly. We do sometimes on videos. We will just answer the comment and make our own comment. But the thing about YouTube comments is that everything can get kind of lost in the noise. When I make a video about it, there's nothing to get lost in the noise. You're looking at me, I'm giving you the answer. It's a little bit more direct. So want to have that kind of dialogue between us and you directly, and so that's why we do the video format. But yeah, if there is a a minor question, doesn't rise to the level of needing to be answered on an Ask EVGA episode, we will just put the comment on your actual comment and then kind of go from there. And we'll try to do more and more of that as time goes on. Like anything, you got to dedicate time to it. But we're trying to do as much as we can. We're building the channel up, and it really helps us out if you subscribe. It helps us out if you click on the bell notification, because that way when we do an upload, it'll remind you, hey, there's an upload, and that gets into more people's feeds, and that in turn actually helps the video get more traction based on the YouTube algorithm. So again, thank you guys. You have a good one, and we'll see you on Ask EVGA episode 20 next week.